Hello, Dr. Ron England, and I'm going to do a video on creating complex queries. The concept is creating complex queries, and I'm going to use the registration database, and I'm going to look at a different table in the registration database specifically for these complex queries. So I'm going to look at here is the concept of prerequisites and courses. Now, I've simplified this a bit, but I have this table here called prerequisites, which has a course ID and a P course ID, P standing for prerequisite course ID. And the concept is if you have a course, the prerequisite course, it would be in the table on the same row as the course, and both of those are foreign key relationships back here to the courses. So they're both courses that, and I keep track of prerequisite relationships there. I can have more than one prerequisite for a course by simply having more rows in the table, but that's how I keep track of that relationship. Now, when I'm enrolling students, I actually have this, I'm going to close this. I don't need this anymore. Oh, you know what? I'm going to keep it up because I might refer back to it. So I'll come back and forth to it. Where my prerequisites go? It disappeared. Oh, here's where I can show you a neat little trick because I'm not actually seeing the prerequisites here. And this is if for some reason it disappears, not a problem here. And that's actually because I didn't save the changes, I'd made the changes. I can take this prerequisites table from here, drag it over to here, drop it in, okay, shows up with the foreign keys right there, 2 foreign keys back to courses. So you can see both of those. Okay, now I'll go ahead and just leave this up here so you can actually get to it. So I can get to it. Now, I'm going to go to my stored procedures, and I have a stored procedure here called register student. Okay, and it's the one where I register a student. Now, in the register student, at this point, all I do is I am inserting into the student enrollment the student ID and the course offering ID, and that actually is how I enroll a student. But I never check to see if the student has met the prerequisites. So what I want to do here is I want to add that. Okay, I actually want to add this to the ability to check for prerequisites to this stored procedure. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, this first part here, I'm going to pull out and go to a new query window here. I'm going to say use registration database. And this first part right here, I declare a course ID, and I set course ID equal to select course ID from course offering where ID equals course offering ID. Okay, well, I also need here a course offering ID, so I'm going to do declare at course offering ID, and I'm going to set that, I'm just going to take a value, and I'm going to set that to 4. And the reason I'm going to set it to 4 is I know that I have a course offering from the course offering table. If I look at that, I can see, well, maybe I don't have a 4. Let's look at that. So set course offering ID. If I look at my course offerings, 4 would probably not be the best value there. I probably should use course offering ID 1, which is course 1 in semester 1. So let's set that equal to, well, actually, let's set it equal to 3. That's a good one. So that will be for semester 2, course 3. So semester 2, course 3. So let's set that to 3. Okay, and I can actually run this. Okay, now I ran a few things here. Set, didn't declare the type, int. Okay, and now it actually does do it. But you know what? It doesn't do anything there. I need to actually print something out here. So I'm going to use the print, and I'm going to print the course ID that comes back here out. Okay, so what I did here is I set the course offering ID equal to 3. Okay, and I set the course ID equal to selecting the course ID from the course offering. Well, if I go to the course offering table, I can see that the course being offered for the course ID 3 is course 3. If I came back over here and put a 1 in, it would come back to 1. So those are my course offerings. So I'd actually got a value back here. Okay, so the difference between a course offering and a course is a course doesn't have a semester associated with it. It's just the course. Now, I'm going to go kind of the next step here, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually throw a few things in here. So let's look at some things here. I'm going to take this print away. I'm going to leave this other stuff up because I'm going to use it. But right now, I'm going to put a select statement here. And I'm going to go ahead and say select the P course ID from the prerequisites where the course ID equals course ID. And by the way, as you recall, course ID was 3. Okay? So right now for course ID 3, I do not show a prerequisite. So let's go over to prerequisites. Okay? For course ID 3, there's no prerequisites. Okay? If I come back over here to course ID and I say I set this equal to 4, okay, I show a prerequisite 3. If I come back over here, I'll see that if I look at course 4, I have a prerequisite course ID of 3. Okay, so that is one step there. Now, I don't actually have a course offering for course 4. I actually do want to have where course 4 is being offered. I can do that by going over to, okay, executing the stored procedure. So for semester, we'll say semester 1, I want to offer course 4. Okay, now it's offered. So if I do this, I can now change this back to at course ID. And I should, whoops, let's get rid of this and let's print this out again. And watch as I do this. I'm debugging as I go here, putting together this complex query. So I'm going to print at course ID. Okay. So at course ID is 3. Oh, you know what? I need to change this. I got to look at the course offering ID here. So offering 4 is offering course 4. So if I go over to here, and I can actually change this to 4 or 5. If you saw that was 4 or 5, so I change this to 5. Okay, and that would be an offering of course 4. Okay, so now I know that course 4, the course being offered is 4. And I'm going to put a little comment here. Well, so now I know course 4 is this course, and now if I do the prerequisite courses, the prerequisite's 3. Let's check that. Select top 1,000 rows. If you have course 4, the prerequisite is course 3. So we're actually getting the prerequisite back here. That's great. Okay, so I now know that I'm actually getting back the prerequisite here. Well, I want to build on this. So how would I actually get the courses taken by a student? Let's do this also. Let's do another declare. Okay, and let's set a student ID. This time it's not going to be course offering ID. It's going to be student ID. And I make the student ID here. And I'm going to look at my students. And I'm going to use student 2 here. And the reason I'm going to use student 2 is if I look at student enrollments, I can see that student 2 is enrolled for a couple of courses. So I'm just going to use that one as my example. So student 2. Okay, I'm going to come back down here. I've got to set student equal to 2. I'm going to come back down here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put another query in here. And what I'm going to do is I want to create a query. First, I'm going to do a query where I show the course offerings that a student is enrolled in. Okay, student is actually enrolled in course offering 1 and 3. Well, I don't want to see the course offerings the student's enrolled in. I want to see the course ID that the student is enrolled in, and I can actually modify this. If you look at that query, select course offering ID from student enrollment where student equals at student ID. Now I want to convert this so that I actually see the courses. To do this, I'm going to select the course ID from course offering where the ID, and that is the ID in the course offering table, is in this query. Remember, the first one returned the course offerings. This query that is on the outside is going to return the course IDs for those course offerings. Beauty of that is that we remember that the course ID and the course offering ID for 1 and 3 were the same. So I still get back here the course IDs for the courses course offerings the student is taking. So the student is taking course 1 and 3, which also happens to coincide with course offering 1 and 3. Now, what if I wanted to see the prerequisites for that course? I've got a list of course IDs, and I wanted to see the prerequisites for those courses. Well, I can actually do that too. I'm going to add another layer on top of that. I'm going to select the prerequisite course ID from prerequisites where the course ID is in, and it's going to be inside of this query that returns the courses here. So this is going to show me all of the prerequisites for the courses that the student has taken. And in that case, it's 5. Now, the reason is the student took courses 1 and 3. If the student took courses 1 and 3, well, 1 has a prerequisite 5, and 3 does not have a prerequisite at all. So the answer to that is 5. So now I've got a query embedded in a query embedded in a query. So if you look at this, how did I build this? I started with one query that returned back course offering IDs. I embedded that into another query that found the course IDs from the IDs of the course offerings, which I then embedded into a third query by using the in, where it found the prerequisite course IDs for the course IDs. Wow. So it's this double embedded thing. Now I can actually, what I usually do here is I tend to embed these like this so you can actually see the embedding, and then I put the parentheses here at the end. So that's normally how I would do this. But if you look at this, it now makes sense. P course ID is the prerequisite courses for the student, so the courses that the student has there. Now, what I did not do in this whole example was I didn't check to see if they were completed courses. I'm just looking at all the courses that the student takes. How do I go one step further here? What I want to see is a list of all the prerequisite courses that the student has not taken for the course that they want to register for. Well, here's what we do. I'm going to do this in 2 steps. First, I'm going to do step 1. I'm going to do a new query here. Select P course ID from prerequisites where course ID equals at course ID. That is a list of all the prerequisite courses that are needed for the particular course that's in the variable. Those are the prerequisites. I'm going to do an AND, okay, and now I'm going to go one step here. I'm going to do a second part here, and this query will look familiar. And the AND is going to put the two together with as an AND. I can use an AND or an OR. Now, the second part of the AND is course ID from course offering when the ID is in, select course ID from student enrollment where student ID equals that student ID. Well, if you remember back, that's the exact same query I had 2 steps ago. And what that did is it selected the courses that the student had taken, right? So it was selecting the courses that turns the course IDs for the courses that the student has taken. Now, if those two, when I put those two together, okay, I'm not doing an OR, I'm looking to see where they intersect. Now, if I do this, in this case, you'll see, whoops, and I think I've got not the quite right number of query pieces here. P goes course ID equals course ID at select course ID from course ID where ID equals select course ID from student enrollment where student ID equals that student ID. So I got an error here. It says if non-Boolean type specified in the context where a condition is expected near the parenthesis. So what I have here is I have to look to make sure, and actually what I should probably do here is get rid of some of this. It's in the way. So I can look directly at this one. Okay. And I don't need that and. I don't need that there. So now I've got the 2 pieces. Okay. So now I've got an insurrect and oh, you know what? I actually don't have the whole thing here. Okay, and there's the reason why. I'm selecting a prerequisite course ID, which is be the prerequisites for the course that they want to take. Now, I also need to check to see if that prerequisite course ID is not in this list of courses here. this is the list of the courses that they've taken. So if I join the list of the prerequisite courses for the course that they want to take and the prerequisite courses from that list that they have not taken, which is what I've done. P-course ID not in that list is the prerequisite courses not taken. I should see what prerequisites they need for that specific course. Okay. Now, to do this, I need to make sure all my parentheses match. I am missing one parenthesis at the end because I've got a parenthesis here and a parenthesis here. I put it together and it comes up blank. What that means is they have taken all the prerequisite courses here. So in other words, there are no prerequisite courses that are in this list that are not in this list. Okay? So meaning that there is no prerequisite course that they didn't need. Okay, if there was a prerequisite course that they needed, it would have shown up in here. So there you go. Very complex query when I put the whole thing together. Now, to put the whole thing together, I actually take this, I go back over to my stored procedure that's here, okay, and I can do the whole thing. Now, what I did do here is I'm working with this query that I've got here. I'm actually working with just the prerequisite course ID, and the whole thing I can actually now paste, here we go, directly into this stored procedure. The only thing is that I need the count of those, or I could actually do a count of this, but right now this query itself will give me a list of the prerequisite courses that that student needs. What I can do here, which I'm not going to do in this video, but what I can do here is I can actually take that list and look at the values in that list, and I can return something to say, well, if the list is not 0, okay, if P-course ID has values in it, you can say you need to take this course, and we'll know it by the number. Okay, so we'll actually have the course ID number here. And that's how you would actually run this query. The importance of this video is how I constructed a complex query from a series of simpler queries, putting them all together. Okay? And the process by which I did it, using the query window to start putting them together and going back and checking on the values that go with that complex query. So, and here's my little complex query screen that I did all this work in. So, thank you very much. Hopefully this is useful. It's a fairly complex query that I created, but worth looking at. Thanks.